If you think you're free, the events of 2020 should prove that you are sadly mistaken. But not everybody agrees that these measures are proportionate. People in senior positions are blatantly disregarding the rules. And this is the interesting thing. Welcome to Lawcracker. My name's Joseph. Today we're going to talk about COVID laws, lockdown, as we head into 2021 from 2020. Deeper and deeper lockdown restrictions seem to be coming in again. You can't go out except for exercise, you can't see friends, you can't see family, you can't even see family on their deathbeds. These are serious curtailings of our freedom. There is this virus that the government says is so dangerous to us as a society, we must pull together and fight by not seeing each other and doing nothing. But not everybody agrees that these measures are proportionate. Government seems at times incompetent, at other times even bordering on dishonest. There's a massive credibility problem that the government has when people in senior positions are blatantly disregarding the rules. But scientists seem to suggest that more stringent lockdowns earlier are the key, if anything more than the government is proposing. But the government is not the scientist. The government in a democracy is the representatives of the people, you and me. Now, usually these types of things are about personal choice. If you want to smoke 50 a day, the government will not stand in your way. If you want to drink whiskey, vodka and gin for breakfast, lunch and dinner, the government will do nothing because it is your choice to make those decisions, however foolish they may be. Those are decisions that only affect you. But the issue here, some people will say, is that if I refuse to limit my personal freedoms in this situation, then me exercising my personal choice puts other people's lives at risk. But the anti-lockdown people will say, and do they have a point? There are other measures. Look at herd immunity. Look at protecting people who are vulnerable and let this virus go through our population rather than just being terrified of it while it destroys the fabric of our own society. I mean, there are some other people as well, the COVID, Bill Gates, George Soros guys. I don't really know what to say to you guys, but I'm sure if you go in the comments, there'll be a lot of people that you can talk to about that. Now, this whole herd immunity thing is actually quite interesting because in the early months, some data seem to suggest that Sweden, by allowing it to tear through the population, blah, 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 had a lower rate. Compared with Norway, probably the closest comparison, actually it performs pretty badly. And just in the last 3 weeks, as we're doing this at the end of December, Sweden has done a massive turnaround. And even Sweden's king, who is famously even quieter than the British Queen, has said this thing was a mistake. It's probably safe to say it was a petri dish that we shouldn't experiment with. We don't know enough. And the toe that we dipped in the water ended up getting frostbite and falling off. But there are also arguments about these secondary costs that really can't be ignored. Cancer deaths will no doubt have increased. Some people will say scandalously and unnecessarily. And what if you hold these views? Some of these views seem pretty legitimate. After all, I'm not an expert on these things. There are differing opinions even within the scientific community. And that is before you even consider the question of example. Why should I listen to Boris Johnson about health? The guy at the beginning of the lockdown wasn't even going to the first Cobra emergency meetings. He was saying on national television, you can shake people's hands, but you must make sure you wash them afterwards. What a load of nonsense. There is a massive deficit in leadership before you even consider Dominic Cummings, who wrote the lockdown policy and his extravagant site testing trip to a castle. Coincidentally on his wife's birthday, wonder if that had anything to do with it. Nobody knows. The guy is either a hypocrite or an idiot. How on earth can we consider following the example of these people? But, and here's the big one, you can always find a politician who's a It doesn't absolve you of moral responsibility to do the right thing. And here's the question. Don't we have the personal freedom to have a say about how we behave in something as important as this? If you think you're free, the events of 2020 should prove that you are sadly mistaken. You're only free when you agree with the will of the majority. And this is the interesting thing. Laws exist to regulate our behavior because the majority of people take the view that a certain type of behavior is harmful and needs to be stopped. That's pretty much the basis for all criminal law. It's the basis for our law on drugs. Some people think drugs should be legal to take. Some people think drugs should be legal to manufacture and distribute. Those are freedoms that are taken away because the majority of people disagree with them. In both types of situations, a majority government decides that the commercialization of certain drugs should be illegal irrespective of freedom of choice. And the rest of the people just have to toe the line. Democracy doesn't mean freedom of choice. In our society, you vote. That is your only freedom. But the evidence shows, doesn't it, that when people disagree strongly enough with a law, they break it. And it happens with drugs, and it's happening with the lockdown. You don't need to read the newspaper stories to see people breaking lockdown rules. And this is what's going to happen, isn't it? Most will stick by the rules, others won't, and this will play out. Let's just hope that we can get through the next few weeks and months of this bloody nightmare as a society more or less in one piece until the vaccine's fully rolled out. And then in true Great British style, we can start arguing about that instead. This was the Lawcracker. Tell me what you think. Is COVID rules nonsense? Is COVID rules a good idea? Do you need to be worried about people you've never met before? Do you think this whole thing is a pandemic? Please don't like my channel if you honestly think it's a pandemic. If you did like this video, I really want to appreciate you all. The support that we've had so far is really awesome. We're going to be doing more videos in the coming days, weeks and months. And when those videos start coming in, then please guys, like, share, tell me what you think, and make recommendations of what you would like to see in future Lawcracker episodes. See you guys.